Yo guys, what is up? Welcome back to another video. It's been a while. Just something I needed to quickly address before I get started with the video. Um, well, I won't be doing any Premier League roundup videos until there's a bit more fixture clarity, because what's happening is in some game weeks there's only 5 fixtures. Like this game week there was only 5 games, if I'm not wrong, or four. I can't remember the exact number. Maybe or six, 4 or 6. I can't remember actually. But the point is there aren't the same amount of games, so the videos will be much shorter when if I do them, and it'll be a bit messy. So my actual plan is I'm gonna wait for this festive period to end. So maybe like Jan 10th, Jan 15, somewhere around that, and I'm gonna I'm gonna then do like a festive period Premier League roundup, which will contain all the fixtures from like the date where I stopped recording the roundups to that date that I am recording the roundups. If that makes sense, I hope it does. But yeah, there won't be any Premier League roundup videos, so I'm gonna be coming up with a couple of different I've come up with a couple of different video ideas, so those will be coming in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So yeah, there will only be a video a week because of the hectic schedule right now that I have. I'm finding it hard to find a lot of time, so I do apologize for that. But that's only going to be for a short time. Soon everything should be back to 2 to 3 videos a week, hopefully. So yeah. Anyways, I'm sure you could probably tell by now. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a Premier League striker tier list for the 2021-2022 season. I actually really enjoyed these tier list videos. I think they're really fun. So yeah, and yeah, I think you guys enjoy them as well. So I thought that maybe this could be something different. That I haven't done a tier list video in a while. My last one was the Premier League prediction video that we made at the start of the season. So yeah. Anyways, so here are the 5 categories: incredible, good, decent, eh, and awful. They're pretty self-explanatory, so I don't think I have to explain them. And these are all players that I consider strikers, but some of them you could make a case that they could be wingers. For example, Martial and Saint Maximin and Mora. You could say they're wingers, but I would say they're strikers. So yeah, and if anything, a lot of wingers are inside forwards. Like for example, Mane and Salah. They're not natural wingers. They're inside forwards. So you would technically consider them as strikers, in a sense. So yeah. Anyways, these are just the strikers that I think. These are all the strikers from every single Premier League club. So yeah. Without further ado, let's get started. So the first striker we have is Ivan Toney. Now, just like a indicator of how I'm going to be ranking these strikers, it's not going to be based just off goals and assists and or just goals in the situation, because I think that's a bit harsh on some strikers. I know goals is the most important thing for a striker, but I'm going to be a little bit more objective than that. I'm going to try to be a bit more objective with my ranking. So, yeah. So we start off with Ivan Toney for Brentford. What a very talented young lad he is. Not a fan of his attitude and ego. I've seen a couple of pretty egotistical interviews from him. Especially there was one I remember at the start of the season where he basically offered himself to Arsenal. While you could say there was an element of it being a joke. I'm not a fan of those type of players, if you know what I mean. I'm a bit old school in that sense. So yeah, but if we're talking footballing ability, and this season he's been it's hard because the decent and good, there isn't a lot separating them, but I reckon Ivan Toney has been good. I reckon Ivan Toney's been good. Now, Audsen Edward. This is someone who absolutely burst onto the scene for Crystal Palace. I remember he came on against Tottenham in the 3-0 win, and he scored 2 in his first 2 touches for the club. What a start to life at Selhurst Park. But it has dried up quite a lot. His performances haven't been too bad, but I think, if we're being honest, he hasn't lived up to that incredible potential that he showed. To be fair, there are still some games where Patrick Vieira doesn't start him, so I do feel for him in that sense. But I think he can do a little bit more, but he will obviously improve. So I don't want to be too harsh. I'll put him in the decent category. As for Danny Ings, now this is a really hard one because see, I've watched Danny Ings for the last 2 to 3 years, and I've seen what an incredible finisher he is. But the true fact is he hasn't been at the level we know he can be this year. And he's got a couple of goals for Aston Villa, don't get me wrong. Like there have been some good performances. I remember he won the goal of the month for August, if I'm not wrong, with the bicycle kick. And he's a very, very good player. But but for the fact that he I kind of expected more. The fact that I expected more from him kind of makes it hard for me to put him in anything higher than good, because I think he could be an incredible, because he's shown potential and he's got 5 goal contributions in 12 matches for Aston Villa in the Premier League this year. Not too bad. I think, see, this is where it feels like I'm being a bit generous to Danny Ings and harsh on probably Edward, but I think I'm gonna put Ings on the good category. Obviously, Edward has very, very similar stats to Danny Ings, but I just I think that I think Danny Ings, I know his finishing ability. So while he's not even been that bad, by the way, 6 goal contributions in 5 goal contributions in 12 appearances is not bad by any means. But Edward has 4. You know, it doesn't it does make it a bit. It makes it seem like I'm being harsh, but honestly, the gap between decent and good is so little that Edward could easily slip into good. If he got maybe 3 or 4 more goals, I would easily have him in good, or even maybe 2 goals. And if his performances were a little bit better, I have seen him be a little bit like, not like useless is the wrong word. I think he's ghosted in some games, and I think that'll take him time though. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think he's gonna get 15, 20 goals from after this season. So yeah. As for Raul Jimenez, I mean, again, this is not an easy one because same thing with Ings. I know Raul Jimenez's finishing ability, um, and I know what a lethal finisher he can be. I mean, on his day, he's arguably one of the best Premier League strikers in the like. He's one of the best, but I think he's also not been too bad. 5 goal contributions like Ings, so I'm gonna put him in good or decent. I reckon I put him in good. Um, I think his performances have been very, very good for Wolves. Like, I've seen him be essential for Wolves, and they really, really depend on him, which is surprising because they've recruited 2 new strikers in Wong Ki Chan and Fabio Silva last year. But still, you'd expect them to not be depending on him after his horrific head injury, which I'm so happy he recovered from. All football aside, I'm not a fan of his antics, especially after what I saw him do against Manchester City. But so, seriously, I'm so happy that we can see Raul Jimenez continue to play football because he's such a talented young striker. Talented striker, not young. But it was really scary, that head injury that he had. I was very worried after his collision against Arsenal. But it's very nice to see him back and playing. And yeah, I mean, he's already. I know he's played 7 more games, but he's already had more goal contributions this year than last season. But to put it in context, his best season was 17 goals and 6 assists, so 23 goal contributions in 38 games. That's his standard, Raul Jimenez. That's how ridiculous he is. On If he plays the same amount of games this season, on average, he's likely to score and contribute to about 10 goals. That is a huge drop for a player like him. And actually, I think I'm going to move him to decent now that I've just compared and looked at his stats, I think I have to move him to decent. He hasn't been. This is so hard. I'm very. The thing is, this isn't planned. Like I haven't planned this tier list in my head. I'm doing this on the spot. So this is the first time I've seen this tier list. So good, decent. Keep him in good because I think it would be ludicrous to put him in decent now. Looking back at it, Adam Armstrong, he's been decent. He's missed a lot of chances. Like but at the same time, there have been some very very good moments. Um, uh, he's been very very decent. I'd say that's the perfect word. Actually, Armando Broja is not in this list because I don't know why. Actually, I don't know. I only see Adams and Shane Long from Southampton, but Armando Broja should be in this list. He he has been very very good. But anyways, as for as for Emmanuel Dennis, what a player! What a player he has been! What a player! This guy has more goal contributions than Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, I could easily put him here. He honestly has been incredible. He genuinely has been incredible. I am sorry, but this guy is playing for such a god awful side, and the fact that he has so many goal contributions, it's ridiculous. I mean, it was a very smart buy from Watford, from buying them from Club Brugge. He's got 12 goal contributions in 15 games. What the hell? That's arguably one of the best, if not the best, in the Premier League. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. What a player Emmanuel Dennis has been. Fair play to him. He's single-handedly keeping Watford alive and well in the Premier League, to be honest. Um, and if they are to stay up, it's not going to be Ismaila Sarr as most people thought would be. I think Emmanuel Dennis is going to be the key uh, to Watford's ability to stay up in the Premier League. Moving on to Alexander Lacazette, he's been decent. Look, he's not been too bad, Lacazette. He's a very talented striker, but let's be honest, when he was bought, we expected a lot more, and he hasn't lived up to it. But that's not to say he's been bad. I mean, he's scored 2 goals in 13 games in the Prem, but he scored 2 in the EFL Cup. He's got a combined total of around 7 goal contributions in total in about 15 games, 16 games. It's not bad. It's a goaler and assist every other game, but I can't put that in good. And that's the thing, right? It's not just the goals like an assist like I talk about. Like I said, like his performances, he is a very natural striker. He isn't someone who drops in deep. He isn't, and he for what he does. The problem with what he does is you can go like 90 minutes without touching the ball, and I've seen him too often in this very young and exciting Arsenal side look out of place. And so while he's got 7 goal contributions in 15 games in all competitions, it's also the performances, because there are games where he scores 2 in one game. You know, he doesn't. He could be better, Alexander Lacazette. That's all I'm saying. Especially when you look at Gabrielle Martinelli, who you could consider a striker, but I think it's still premature for him because we don't know his position yet. But if you look at Gabrielle Martinelli, he really, really puts it in perspective. He scored the same amount of goals in the Premier League as in one game as Lacazette did the whole season. It does put that. It puts it in perspective, honestly speaking. But he's still a decent striker. I think he's more of a mid-table striker. I think we're coming to realize that. But yeah. Patrick Bamford, I think I have to put him in. The thing is with Bamford, he's been injured for about 75% of the season. But the fact is, when he has played, I can't put him in the good category, the decent category, because he hasn't been at the same level as Armstrong, Edward, and Lacazette. He's been a little bit worse than that, but that's possibly because of lack of fitness. It's because of multiple things. I'm not blaming Bamford because I think he's a very, very talented forward. But the fact is, I'm not basing it just off goals and assists. I've seen a lot of performances from him. They've not been too good in the limited minutes he's played. So while he's had injury concerns, I still think he could do a bit better than what he's doing. Moving on to Chris Wood. Again, what a Burnley striker this Donny is. He embodies, he's a perfect embodiment of Burnley Football Club. He's actually been, honestly, I could put him in awful, Chris Wood. For someone who scored a hat-trick at Wolves earlier this year when when Burnley beat Wolves 4-0, Chris Wood, I mean, you expect a bit more, don't you? Like, I, the fact that he's got 3 goals in 15 matches, it's very tempting, and 0 in the EFL Cup. So that's 3 goals in 18 games. That's 1 goal every 6 games. Look, I'm not a genius, but if you look back at his last 4 years, he's got 1 in 3. That's almost double to 1 in 6. So, and he's got 0 assists. I'm gonna put him in awful. He's been awful, Chris Wood. He has been awful, and his hold-up play just isn't feeling like the same as well. It's one thing about the goals, because Burnley have struggled quite a lot, and that's not all his fault. But his hold-up play has been dreadful this year. Moving on to Callum Milton, this guy, I actually think he should be in the good category, because you have to put what he has done in context. How has this guy got 6 goals? He is feeding off absolute scraps, and that's the thing. For him, I will base it just off goals, because I can't expect anything else from anyone else playing for Newcastle right now. They're the worst club in the Premier League by a country mile, and especially performance-wise and results-wise as well. Mainly performance, because results-wise, technically, Watford are joint worst with them. But my point is, the fact that he has 6 goals is ridiculous for Callum Milton, and he's had injuries, by the way, and he hasn't played every single game as well. For him, I have to put him in the good category, because if he was playing at Man City, he'd have 20 goals right now. I'm not even joking. He has 6 goals for Newcastle. 6 goals. That's ridiculous. And that's the thing, it's not just about the goals with these players. It's also about his presence is so important to Newcastle. It's not just having a striker. We've seen with Joe Linton that having a striker is not enough. You need to have a presence. You need to have a mobile, fast, athletic presence. And Callum Milton ticks all the boxes in that sense. So fair play to Callum Milton, honestly, fair play. Moving on to Cristiano Ronaldo. This is the most controversial one I've done so far. He's been good. He's been good in the Premier League. Look, Cristiano Ronaldo's standards are Mo Salah. Mo Salah-like numbers. He's 5 goals less than Salah. Look, he's not been bad. That's the thing, man. This is the thing. You have to put it in context, though. I have seen a lot of games where he has done nothing. And I know that is his game. But I've seen a lot of games where if he isn't scoring a tap-in or a penalty, he isn't doing much. And I know that's the thing. United brought him in just to tap it in. I get that. I'm not saying that they brought him in to be this false nine or whatever. But I expect a bit more. His performance level, as you'd expect, I mean, he's 36. It has dropped. It has dropped. But that's not to say he's been the best out of the good. He's just below incredible, I could say. Timo Pukki and Josh Sargent. Sargent has been awful. Pukki has been okay. And I feel bad for Sargent because he's been pushed out to the wings a lot. And I don't think that's his favorite position, so I do feel for him in that sense, but you expect more because when he has got a chance to play through the middle in a 2, he's been awful. His performances have been absolutely awful. And Aubameyang, awful. I don't care what his statistics are. I don't even need to look at his statistics. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has been the worst striker in the Premier League this season. It's not a debate. Along with maybe you could say Fabio Silva, but that's about it. I mean, he's been so bad, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. It's the performances, it's the open goal misses, it's the shit statistics. He's been rubbish, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Ollie Watkins, I'd say decent. He's been decent as well. Ollie Watkins, not a bad player. I think he's gonna be a really, really influential player for Steven Gerrard. I remember there was a game against Manchester City where Ollie Watkins was so good. He terrorized Nathan Ake, Ruben Diaz, and co. He was immense, so fair play to him. He looks like a good player, but his statistics haven't been the best, so I can't put him higher than decent, I think. I mean, I can't put Ollie Watkins in the good category. I just think that's a bit too generous. Danny Welbeck, I'd put him in awful. Nothing much to say about him. He hasn't played that much football, but when he has, I mean, Jesus Christ, the guy looks so out of shape. He looks so washed up, and it's so sad because I'm never gonna say that Danny Welbeck was ever a good finisher because he wasn't. He still needed 3 chances to score 1, but he still had at least he had that in him. Now he needs about 7 to miss 1. Like he misses so many chances, it's ridiculous, and he looks unfit. It's really alarming, and this is hard. Barnes, I'm gonna be a little generous. I'll put him in. See, statistically, he's been similar to Chris Wood, a little bit better, but I think Barnes has the hold-up play has been so much better. He's always a set-piece threat. Not been as good as his own standards, but he's been much better than Chris Wood. So, yeah. Oh my god, I just realized we're at the 21-minute mark. We gotta speed this up. But this is gonna be a 30-minute video. But even if I speed things up, because, yeah. Timo Werner has actually been... See, in all competitions, he's been good, Timo Werner. I mean, I'm very impressed with Timo Werner because, see, the performances last year, like if you look at the movement, if you look at his freeing of space for other attackers, the way he'd occupy space, his positional play, it was very good last year. It's just his finishing that was lacking. And yeah, a little bit of movement as well. You could say he was offside quite a bit as well. But he's improved that as well. And he does miss quite a few chances. He still doesn't look as confident as maybe you'd think he could be. But honestly, he's been arguably Chelsea's best attacker alongside Mason Mount this season. And even Mason Mount, it's a hard call because Mason Mount, there have been games where, I mean, he's done absolutely nothing. Timo Werner, when he plays, quite often he does influence the game. And I think Werner and Lukaku is much better than Lukaku and Havertz. That's a very controversial call, but I really think so. So yeah, Timo Werner, his general play has been very, very exciting to watch. I'm very happy for the guy. He's a very nice guy. I mean, I've seen some of his interviews and stuff. He's such a nice guy. I really felt bad for him the way he was missing chances and stuff. But I think maybe by next year, he's still only 26, 25, 26. He still has a year. By next year, I genuinely think if he'll hit his peak, and we should all be very worried because a peak Timo Werner, that guy is gonna run the league. Jordan Ayew, awful. He's up there with Aubameyang for worst striker in the league. I mean, what is it? 50? It's a stupid stat. I don't want to misquote it, but I think I saw it somewhere where it was 50 games without a goal or assist or something like that up till like a certain point this year. I mean, how ridiculous is that for a professional striker? Look, I don't care if Crystal Palace played defensive football under Hudson. Patrick Vieira gave you a good 10 games. You should be scoring and assisting consistently. He's been awful. And the sad thing is, it's not just the numbers, because with Ayew, when he was playing good, when he was playing to his best of his ability in that 18-19, in the 19-20 season, you could say, his work rate was off the charts. He was excellent. He was actually a right winger in that season. He wasn't actually the main striker, not permanently. He would swap with Zaha, Benteke, etc., etc. But now there's no work rate, there's no output. I mean, what are you doing? Richarlison, absolute prat. I'm going to put him in F because this kid was getting linked with an 80 million move to Barcelona in January of this year. So, I mean, 80 million, are you serious? 80 million. 80 million. No, he hasn't been good enough. Yeah, he's been injured. Yeah, he had 2 goals disallowed against Arsenal, but he hasn't been good enough. He's on the same level as Timo Werner this year. Kelichi Nacho, this is really disappointing from Kelichi Nacho. I'm gonna edge him and keep him in like the but honestly, the season he had, the back end of last season was so good that this season his performances have been awful. Patson Daka has been way better. Again, he's not on the list as well, but I think he can do a lot better. Kelichi Nacho, because we've seen the striking ability. It's just he isn't making those runs. He isn't holding the play up as much as you think he could, and he isn't being in those areas that you'd expect him to thrive in. So yeah, Lukaku. I'm gonna say, listen, look, Lukaku. His performances were never a strong suit. It was never a strong suit. His hold up has been okay, but his output, yeah, he's been injured. He's played 14 games, guys. He scored 4 goals. I mean, how how can people tell me that he's been a good signing? Look, I'm not saying he won't be a good signing, but he hasn't been one so far. It has been 4 months. Yeah, he could probably score another 10, 15 goals by the end of the season, and I'd probably put him in the incredible category by then. But the fact is, as things stand, the on December the 22nd, he hasn't done enough. 100 million. I'd say the same about Jack Grealish. In a different list, if when I do the midfielder tier list, I will say the same thing about Jack Grealish. But I do feel for Lukaku in a sense because his injuries have been quite harmful for his output in a way. But yeah, Jota, I think he's been the best striker in the league. From this list, I think he's arguably the best. This year, he scored more goals, and it's not just that; it's his ability to be where you'd expect defenders to get the ball, but he gets the ball. It's the guy has scored so many headers. He's about 5'8". You know, he's not that 5'6". He's not that tall. He isn't that tall, but his aerial ability is second to none, honestly, this year. And it's not just that; his one-on-one finishing is so good. His performances have been so good. You know you're a good performer when you keep Bobby Firmino out. Yeah, Bobby Firmino has been injured. Don't get me wrong, but it does take a lot. It does take a lot to keep Bobby Firmino out. And Bobby Firmino, I mean, look, I'm gonna put him in because I haven't seen enough of Firmino this year. He hasn't played enough football this year for me to put him on a. I know he's probably played similar minutes of Lukaku, but Firmino's stats will never tell you the truth about Firmino. His job was never to be the striker. If Firmino was a striker, Mane and Salah aren't going to get as many goals. His job was to do the pressing, the hard work, to compensate for Salah and Mane. So I will never ever rate him off his goals. But this season he hasn't been. He's been okay, Firmino. Not too bad, not too good. Actually, I move him up to decent. Origi, I honestly think that one goal for the value of that 3 points, that one goal against Wolves alone, honestly puts him in. Like, it just keeps him there comfortably. He should not be there. I mean, he should be an awful. He scored 2 goals this year. But I think when you quantify Divock Origi and what his aim and what his objective is when he's playing for Liverpool, it isn't to be a striker starting 15, 20 games in a season. It is to do those late goals. And he has got one against West Ham as well in the 3-2 loss. And he scored the most crucial goal of Liverpool's season, arguably, against Wolves. Where if they lost, Liverpool would be 5 points behind Man City right now. It really was that close. So, and it was a very good finish, by the way. My God, the composure was excellent through the legs of the defender as well. Excellent composure. So, not been his role makes it such that I can't keep him higher than this. Ferran Torres, who's literally just moved to Barcelona as we speak, I'm gonna put him in decent because Ferran's performances before the injury were excellent. He was amazing in terms of his movement, and his goals were coming in as well. He was on course to get a 20-goal season, I reckon. So it's a shame that injury happened, but he's a very talented player, and Barcelona have a gem on their hands. Eddie Cavani, I think the signing of Ronaldo has really impacted him. But honestly, in the games I've seen him play, he's been very good, Edison Cavani. He's such a professional. Like, I know that sounds stupid to say because they're all professional athletes, but what I mean by that is he's such a hard-working lad, and I respect Edison Cavani because he's such a good player. He's been so good when he's got the chance to play. That Tottenham performance is stuck in my head. He was so good in that 3-0 win. He hasn't played much, but when he has played in very limited minutes, he's been decent. So Martial hasn't played. He's played one game. He got that one goal. That's all I remember from Martial. I genuinely don't remember him playing another game. I'm gonna put him in awful because apart from that goal, I mean, he didn't do much either. So He's been awful, to be honest, Anthony Martial. Alan Saint Maximin. Look, man, Saint Maximin. He's a very talented player. He has a lot of flair. He's like Hatem Ben Afra, but this guy is not Cristiano Ronaldo. He needs to think about that. His goals have been okay. His contribution is okay considering the side he plays in, but his performances. I'm sorry, your performances aren't going to be good because you rainbow flick someone 3 times, bro. I hate to break it to you. Che Adams, he's been okay. I don't think he's played, has he? Shane Long? I don't remember him playing. Maybe he has. But it's been very limited, so I'm going to put him in the awful category. Mora, awful. I mean, Lucas Mora has been so disappointing in the minutes he's got this year. I've always rated Lucas Mora from his PSG days as well, but I always thought that if you could get a world class manager to actually harness the end product out of him, you could see someone so good. But his performances, as well as his end product, have been so poor, and the fact that when Kane gets injured, Spurs are so worried alarms me because Mora should be a replacement for Kane. Josh King, not too bad. 5 goals, not too bad. That hat trick against Everton was stunning. His performance was excellent as well. But apart from that, he's been okay. I know he played well against Man United, but he's been not too bad. He's been much better since Claudio Ranieri came in, that's for sure. Wong Ki Chan, decent. He's been very, very lively, Wong Ki Chan. He's been a poacher. He's been something Wolves need. He has got scrambly goals, but he's in right place, right time, and his pace is electric for Bruno Lage's side. Fabio Silva, one of the worst signings in Premier League recent history. Dominic Calvert-Lewin injured a lot, so I don't know where to put him. I'm gonna put him in decent. Jay Zeus, he's been incredible, Gabrielle Jesus. I mean, he's played as a winger for most of the season, but let's be honest, his position is the striker, and because of Manchester City's fluid front three, he literally plays everywhere. He's been incredible. I mean, him and Jota have been arguably the 2 best strikers in the league. Neo Mope, he's been okay. He's got a couple of late equalizer, put a decent shift in, but I don't know, something about Neo Mope just makes me think he can do more. Jamie Vardy has been good. His numbers have been very good. Mikel Antonio has actually been decent. I actually don't see the hype with Mikel Antonio, to be honest. His goals are the output is okay. I don't know. I think he could have done a bit more this season. And Harry Kane has been awful. No, there's no defending Harry Kane. He's been him, Aubameyang, and Fabio Silva, along with probably Jordan Ayew, have been the worst strikers in the league. So yeah. That is going to be all for today's videos. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you guys next week. This is a very long video, so I hope you guys really enjoyed this one. And yeah.